like 9 in the fucking morning. I've got no clue why I'm doing this just now, but a friend asked me to do it, so I'm gonna do it. Oh. How to play heavy tank Hungary. Holy for. Job is, if you're doing heavy tank Hungary, your job is basically going to be to try and slaughter Soviet tanks. So don't need to worry about the Western Front until fucking D-Day happens or something. That should be left up to Italy and Germany. First thing to do is to grab all your divisions but one and just delete them. Set this guy, put him on Budapest or something, and just train him because we're good. Even though it's not much, we're going to need every bit of army XP out of him possible. The first research to do is the Butund, or your first motorized and your first heavy tank, so we don't want to waste any bonuses on them. And also do electronic mechanical engineering. For factory wise, just build 2 factories and 2 mills at the start. It doesn't really matter where you build them, same infrastructure. And factories, just put 3 in each. Steel, you should have a Germany, so you should be doing trade backs with him. So obviously I'd have a bit more on here, so and there's not exactly much I can do to the AI to force them to buy, so that's a bit of a shame. And for our first focus, we're going to be starting here at secret rearmament and all the way rushing to developed tanks. So now that's set up. Regarding divisions, you can just delete the source template, and I always rename the divisions just so that they are what they are. So just your 12 with infantry, 6 infantry will just be a garrison division. You can possibly make an infantry one later on, but that'll be after you pump out your tanks. Okay, now that we've got secret rearmament, war games, because army XP is everything. Okay, after this, obviously we do mechanical computing. Because we were trying to get as much research as possible, because we're going to need to beat the Soviets to heavy tank 3s. If the Soviets are doing it in nowhere Russia, then Hungary is going to be the savior of the game, possibly, with tanks. Okay, now with your first 150 political power, going to swap to free trade because we get more construction and more research. And if we continue down to develop tanks with the Bled agreement, Spanish Civil War, we don't need to do anything about that because we can't. And with this, we begin research on heavy tank 2s and basic machine tools. After Bled agreement, army maneuvers. Gives us plus population, which we don't need to worry about now, and military construction speed. As Hungary, you're not really able to focus on an industry until later game, where like, you can start proper pumping them out. However, you could probably get a lot of your factories done quicker if you're doing trade backs with Germany, which would probably be vital to the Hungarian economy because you're not able to support yourself much. Like, that's why we've just got 10 on this. I should probably bring this down to 2, 2, and 2. We're just going to build a stockpile of guns, a stockpile of support, so that we won't need to have many factories on them. After this, what we need to do is concentrated industry and construction 1. And now that we've got our 150 political power, we should get an armor company because that increases our, well, it increases the time on our tank. Since we only need 2 rubber, we're not going to waste a factory on that. So just because obviously we only have 3 right now, we should have 5. However, it's AI, so yeah. First of all, we're going to get a military theorist because we're going to need the army XP off them quite early on. Okay, now that focus, we're going to have to do the boton because we're going to go for mechanized, and for research, just do construction and concentrate too. Also, I actually forgot there. Once developed tanks is research, when you go into your research, we don't have the bonus on this tank yet, so we just switch over to radio, and then back over to heavy tank 2. You see we've cut our research time in half. Okay, after the button, we're going to need to start switching over to political focuses so we can go and join the Axis, but not immediately. So we've got our next political power. We're going to need to get a fascist demagogue. As sure, the focus strength and fascists might bring us up to 40%, which is what we need. However, it's better just taking a demagogue because you'll have more higher support for going to lead to better stability, and the stability is always great. Okay, now for the next research, we're going to need improved machine tools because we're sort of behind in that compared to our thingy, as well as we're going to have to start researching our doctrine, which is going to be mobile warfare. Now we just need to, every time this research slot's available, research the next one in the line, and just you should get a good portion done by Barbarossa, because remember, Hungary's game doesn't start until 41. This event, sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure how it works, however, it's great help, but I believe that comes from having a fascist demagogue. So now, yeah, you should be making a lot more, which means you can switch. You can actually do it right now, which is surprising, because normally I would do industrial revitalization, which we're still going to do because we don't want to increase world tension, and we already have the ability to go fascist. It just means we can do that a bit later on. Okay, now once advanced machine tools, we should switch on to computing machine because obviously research speed is what matters right now for our tanks. Okay, now that industrial revitalization is done, we should reintegrate the railroads. Which all this does is just add infrastructure, but however, the infrastructure will come in handy. Especially when building here. Also, one reason why we haven't actually changed our economic law is because we can go to war colony for the same political power once we swap political party, and it saves 150 political power, and we've got that little factories that it doesn't make too much of a difference right now. Now we don't actually need to produce heavy tank ones yet because they're only heavy ones. Don't need to start producing these until we get 2s. So, however, we just want to build a stockpile of equipment up first. Once those 2 civilian factories are done, you just need to build military factories for now on. which yeah is a bit of a weak economy, but if we want to produce these heavy tanks for Barbarossa, you're gonna need to do this. Okay, once we do reintegrate the railroads, since this has gotten an extra plus 0.01, that's made a huge difference where we can get this a lot earlier. However, I mean, actually no, this is around the time I do it anyway, what am I talking about? We do re-announce the Treaty of Trianon. Also, we should have political power. However, we should hold on to that for now because that's when we're going to swap over to war economy once this focus is finished. Okay, once that focus is finished, go over to war economy and just look, we've got 6 and yeah, we've got 8. Since we are trading 2 away, it should be 10. However, obviously no AI. Well, it is an AI, so it's not a player. For next focus, I recommend doing support of the domestic industry. Just add in our 2 civilians. Okay, now we've got computing machine 3 done. We should probably start to research mechanized equipment. Yes, it is 260 days, however, it will still get that early enough. And if other countries also will start researching heavy 3s now, and this will be cut down with another boost we're going to get soon. Other countries may be doing mechanized. Germany might be doing it, or like Bulgaria slash Italy might be doing mechanized. So that will always come in handy. So if someone else also now we should probably start producing heavy tank 2s. We probably only need to put 1 factory on everything else now and just put everything else into these. Obviously, chromium will be an issue. Obviously, since not a lot of countries here have it, your best bet would be trading with Yugoslavia, because this will benefit both every Axis member here, because obviously Italy in 1940 should attempt to go for, well, basically Yugoslavia should be dead sometime in 1940, which means Yugoslavia should have a bigger industry, if not even just by a little, which will help. And you should get, there should be some chromium up here, I believe. However, you should get some yourself from Yugo. Okay, now that focus is done, we're going to want to do armored warfare. Regarding division design, this is what I would recommend for a Hungarian tank division design, because you're purely going to be focused on piercing and killing the Soviet tanks. So I'm just going to make a standard tank division while I can, and obviously I don't have not got all the correct equipment for it. So you're going to probably start with something simple like this for now. Okay, now that armored warfare is done, we're going to move on to support urbanization, because we're wanting to get these 2 extra research slots. Also, once that focus is done, we're going to go back and research a radio again and swap back. This will obviously cut 300 a year of tank research. Also, now that we've got the next set of political power, we should probably now we're going to want to focus on pumping out as many militaries as possible, so we're going to get the extra 10% construction speed on them. So just constantly build military factories. It doesn't really matter where, because you have the 70% everywhere. Now we get that extra research slot. Now this around this time should get southern Slovakia through the AI. Obviously, depending when Germany does it. Okay, now we got that focus. I'll obviously open up a research slot and thing. However, we're just gonna, for our focus, get two bits of research, and probably for research, you could start to invest into this and get this up so you can get gun twos. Or, however, I would recommend doing more industry focuses because you know, so we're going to want to produce as many tanks as possible. So now that's our first mechanized done. So, you could just, I would say it's probably worth going for the next weapon now because purely, cause obviously stockpiling is all we care about. Obviously, now that we're starting to actually need a significant amount of rubber, just trade with Germany should trade back for it. Because Germany should be building synthetic oils as well as getting plenty of oil from Romania. So don't worry about it if you're a multiplayer gamer in Romania. You could either get your oil from Germany if they're doing synthetics, or just straight up get it from Romania. So now that we've got that, we can start to put them in our divisions. Okay, for next focus, domestic arms industry gives us 3 military factories. And now industry's done, I would just put an R into advanced machine tools for now. Also, one thing I just noticed, when Czechoslovakia gets annexed by Germany, they should just give you Slovakia because why would you want another AI? So this gives you quite a few civilians and military factories, which will come in really handy. Like, if I refresh this, it should jump up. No. Stayed the same because we're trading extra factories. Once this is done, you could probably start to research the second gun. Okay, after domestic arms industry, we're going to go for the next research slot. And now they've got this, it'd probably be best to, since you don't have a lot of opportunities to get political power, we don't need to worry about manpower for now, because we're only Hungary. So I recommend, you need to go for division attack, because defense is just useless. And for the next research, I would just put onto, probably best to put it onto radios for now, because we're going to need to start getting support companies soon. Now that Aeronautic Technology Institute's done, the next focus you're really going to have to get on is the Boost Hungarian Aviation Industry. This gives you 2 more mills. However, you could do that, but we're wanting to actually build our divisions, so we're going to need to do motorized logistics. because that'll allow us to do support companies, which we are going to need before the war. And the first one we'll do before we get the bonus is logistics company, because we don't want our soldiers to starve. The next thing, now that you've researched gun tools, it's probably good to actually research the support equipment for the guns, because you know every little helps. And as you know, Yugoslavia and whatnot, Germany just deals. You just need to manage them. Industry should look something like this at this point currently. And right now we've just researched radio and armored spearhead. And World War II is about to kick off, thanks to the AI and whatnot. So if you continue, so for one support company we're going to need a signal company, because that adds reinforcement rate and how much of our men can actually get into the battle and continue going down the blitzkrieg. Now that Moraes Logistics is done, it's worth just going for the Hungarian aviation industry, because those 2 mils can be used on tanks for now. And now that Logistics Company 1 is done, and so is the aviation industry, if we do the trade deal with Germany, and the Logistics 2, that'll give us basically more political power, so we can get better advisors. And now that support weapons is done, you should probably just continue going down to that till you catch up to 1940 tech. Also, probably be a good idea to join the Axis soon. Also, I want to keep building military factories. Industry will be better than what it is currently in my test game, because you'll be trading back with players, so you won't really suffer any penalties. And with that political power, feel free to spend it probably on military advisors that I showed you earlier. And now that Logistics 2 is done, it's not worth spending the 300 days going for Logistics 3, so it would probably good to research upgrades to Reconnaissance, or possibly Construction 3, since we're a bit behind in that. But now that Signal Company is almost finished, should do the second one after that, which obviously is a bonus to our tanks. And then we can actually add Signal Company into our division. Now that trade deal with Germany is done, we just leave that open. We don't actually do any focus, because we need to build up political power. Now that our heavy tank 3 is done, we start researching tank destroyers, because that will actually give us the ability to penetrate Soviet tanks. And now if we start production of Soviet tanks, it will cost a lot more resources, and if you have any spare army XP, always good to upgrade your tanks. Try and make sure the reliability stays at a good rate, because you don't want to lose tanks doing nothing. Now that Signal Company's 2 done, we can research Logistics Company for 200 days, because, yeah, upgrades people. Also, with the spare militaries, don't put them into anything right now, purely because we don't have the industry to waste them on building to a stockpile, so it's good to keep one or two just in reserve for when we get the tank destroyers. And if you have any gaps in your research, the reason I haven't actually said to do anything is because nothing else is really vital or necessary to get good tanks, so just feel free to do what you want with it. Either in industry, electronics, and whatever. See, more political power, so I just took it off, went on to volunteer only, because pretty low on manpower. Also, I do recommend using the basic garrison divisions you have earlier to actually garrison your country, because the allies may try power drop you instantly to knock you out if they believe you're the air controller or something. However, since the war's already started and you've not joined, it's obvious you're not. But still good to garrison victory points nonetheless. So should be able to roll out a tank division for now, and you should have 2 ready, possibly a 3rd, depending on if you've done it better than I have. Now that tank destroyers are finished, go ahead and put that into that research slot into something else, because mechanized and all that too far away to even upgrade, so it's just good to put into recon for now. Now we can actually start. We can actually put 3 military factories onto tank destroyers. And something I never did right there was if you click on the circle thing just below, like to the left, like bottom left corner off the production line, that will convert heavy tank 2s into tank destroyer 3s, which will allow you to get the AE that you need really quick. Now if we go into our template and just add 2 tank destroyer battalions, this will give us the penetration and more than what we need to pierce heavy 3s with ease.